Okay, thank you. Thanks, Teresa. So, hi everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'm Vanessa, a freelance art curator and writer. And on behalf of Art Season, welcome to this solo exhibition, When These Roots Encounter Rocks. And the artist, solo exhibition by artist Desmond.Mah. So today we're here to learn a bit more about him and his work. So Desmond is a full-time artist at the
Yes,
moment.
yes.
He was born in Singapore, but he migrated to Australia in the 1980s. And he has a diploma in visual arts painting from LaSalle, as well as an honors degree from Loughborough University in the UK. And he's also done, as part of his career, several residencies in Beijing, as well as in Australia, and several exhibitions in Australia as well as in China.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that's right. So, Desmond, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start with this metaphor here, right?
Yes.
This roots. So, your roots are a little bit, you have roots everywhere,
Yes.
multi-hyphenate identity, right? Maybe you'd like to share a bit more about your story.
Okay. The whole idea of me, my identity is non-binary, is fluid. Um, the moment when my grandparents, my grandfather from China, paternal grandfather, choose to leave China, and then my maternal side grandfather lived in in Taiwan. I felt that when they moved, their culture connection start to break apart because it's so different with living in Singapore, where Singapore culture is so hybrid, it's full of everything, to the point that it's very hard to define where is it from and stuff like that. And I'm born in Singapore during the 1970s. Was also very interesting for me because my strong memories of Singapore is the idea of going to Haw Villa to look at those monsters looking at you, of course. And then I also plus the fact that I every weekends because my mom is seamstress, she doesn't have time for me. So every weekend she says, Desmond, take the bus number 5 all the way to Redhill and then go stay with your grandmother. So my grandmother owns a Chinese temple. So my idea of art, sort of identity, everything all comes from the Chinese temple. So that forms that was my first experience with art. And then and as I grow older, I also go back to idea of like, I still have had this idea, Chinese art is so important in my in my brain, Then, but at the same time, there is a struggle because I've like study in LaSalle and then go to UK and study, and it's all painting is also through the Western lenses of what contemporary art is. It's still painting. And so I think I'm off point a bit. So you need to direct me every time if I'm off point.
No, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So roots to me is also a form of my own migrant language. Is my way of seeing my place in where I am living, like Perth, right? Where Perth is still a very predominantly white culture, and Asian culture is count for a certain percentage, and Aboriginal culture count for a certain percentage, but still a very predominantly way of looking at art in Australia. It's a very white land space. But now they're changing. They are leaning more towards the first Australians and indigenous culture. But it is still very hard for Asian artists to sort of want to make a point. That doesn't stop me from trying. I'm still doing it.
So actually, what you mentioned about the imagery of Chinese temples and Haw Villa, I think everyone has quite a lot of people have had scary experiences in Haw Villa.
Yeah.
Is that seems to be the subject matter that you've incorporated into your work, right? Very grotesque caricature and a little bit horrifying or monstrous.
I would say that I would even talk about racism being a form of haunting. I always feel like racism is like a form of haunting. Like I remember when I was growing up here, my ama, my grandma would tell me, "Hey, you better behave, you don't be in Hokkien, you know." And then you say, "You don't behave, the guy in black guy gonna get you." So that is that, idea that is racism has to do with some sort of monsters, And when I remember when certain people tell me fucking Asian prigs and stuff like that, I get haunted and scarred by experiences like that because I think that, oh, why am I not being accepted? So it's like a revisit to the haunting place of haunt, like when you have this profoundly frightening experience, and then sometimes, right, you feel it for children as well, because like my children they're Chinese, Singaporean Chinese of identity, yet one of them is born in Australia, and born in Australia they itself. So at the same time, I still have that fear for them as well, because I feel that can be a very frightening experience. When you are with citizens, been living there for a long time, every now and then people drive past and say, "Go home where you come from," and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And maybe you can share a bit more, like uh, how you have incorporated this into your this kind of subject matter
Yes.
into your own works, which are actually self-portraits.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my earlier works, what I did is I make a lot of monster imageries. If you look at the monster imageries, if you look clearly, right, it's like they are not really monsters in disguise. They're actually more like iconic cultural icons that I grew up with, like Doraemon, all right, Doraemon. I painted a very frightening Doraemon with her scary looking eyes, the three eye. Why the three eye is like I remember when I was studying in Australia, I would have classmates come up to me and do this, referring me to the PowerPoint. I look at the PowerPoint. It's like when an Asian smile, you can't see the eye. So that image is stuck in my head for a long time. So when I was like doing this monsters painting, I usually paint it with three eye because I thought it looked better with three eye. And at the same time, what I did is I crush familiar smells that I can encounter with. For example, I use tea leaves. I use Chinese incense and stuff. So my work was actually had a sort of permeation smell. Then I realized that it is interesting because some people might have that overlapping cultural experience. Some people, if you're a tree drinker, you probably recognize the drink smell, the smell of the tea leaves. So that was my first idea of like exploring the self. Like I see myself within the monster. And I realized that, well, what I think that's not really what I want to push it further. Can I get away with doing self-expression of myself? Like, not that I love myself so much that I paint grotesque picture of myself, but I see that what I want to try to achieve through my self-portrait is the internal expression, because the external expression is always a very curated way of looking at things. You look at Instagram or the flawless photographs of yourself, but I'm not interested there. I'm really more interested in the hurts, the tears, the wears and tears within the body. So I found this way of painting like that, using the roots to express that, and then in particularly I embed words within the work. So the words are like I weave it in. So these some words are not very full because some of the words are very strong. What was said to me. So what I need to do is I kind of digest those words and I kind of vomit it out. So when I vomit it out, it has to be not so clear. Yeah. And then they're all very subtle. Sometimes it's just at the tip of the tongue. Sometimes it's just words coming in and coming out. And then sometimes it's under my throat. Because I do not want the words to overpower my work. And at the same time, I definitely don't want to make it a comic painting. Yeah.
Okay, and I think we can see this sort of internal struggle coming out, especially the flames within, right? So there's a work where Desmond has actually painted like a Godzilla. Is it a Godzilla on your on your shirt? Maybe you want to share a bit more about that work.
Okay. So that work, Flames Within. I'm trying to like what do you say? continue my tradition as a painter. Because you look at the field of contemporary art, it's so big, so wide, and it seems like certain countries they will value the painters more, some countries not. So unfortunately, where I'm living, they value a lot of contemporary art. So I find that my space or my where I stand is I'm slowly getting squeezed out, you know. And I find that when I enter a prize that's contemporary art prize, and then if you feel that the people who won the prize are the people who suffer the most or very contemporary art. So the pace of painting is like slowly disappearing. Yet at the same time, there's this nagging voice in my head keep telling me I should paint, I continue painting. So that work is like if you look under the neck and the body, it's like the word says keep painting. So this is something that I kind of hold on dear to myself, you know, trying to project, to distinguish myself from a regular painting. So how do I set myself apart? You know, so I have to find a way to paint and make it meaning out of this. And then as I was debating the question constantly, I was saying, you know, if I like to do figure painting, is it necessary for me to use a canvas? Why must I use a canvas? I ask the question all the time. Is it because I went to art school in LaSalle, everybody use canvas, or the Western artists I use canvas? So I continue the tradition. Why I'm doing that is stupid because figure paintings is bigger, right? So I don't need the background anymore. I don't need because the background is just one color, it's boring. And the canvas is still the Western way of looking at art. So I kind of like shift away and I say, why can't I just make it more, leave the marks from the canvas and let the marks exist in itself. I want to use the paint as the language. All right. If you look at my work today in the show, it is about painting. It's about making the marks visible. All right. That's why I've chosen this way of like painting with lines, stacks and stacks of lines. Otherwise, if you just plain color, you just plain flat color. It's not going to show the power of painting. So in that work, it's like a tribute to my frustration with the canvas. So I'm trying to burn the canvas away, you know, there am I, you know, so why, you know? And then if you look within the finger, all right, I like to hide things. There's a meme in the finger. It says, "What the fuck?" All right? It's my frustration, you know. Yeah. So I think the gist of the work is yes,
Okay.
frustration.
And actually, what you mentioned is quite a strong visual language and method that you've been using this technique with the paint, right, to make it a bit more, to make it more sculptural. It's
Yes.
definitely not two-dimensional, flat on the canvas. You can also see that in like this terraformer work.
Yeah.
So maybe you can share a bit more your technique on
Okay.
how you achieve this
All right.
effect.
So back
With the
to
paint.
So back to my earlier work when I deal with texture.
Mm.
There was one day I went up to Kings Park and look at the eucalyptus leaves. I said, "Wow, this nice smell is so strong." So I took it home with me and I didn't check whether there are bugs inside there. And I embedded that all in my work. And the next few days I had worked bugs feeding through my work. They left a lot all over the work. So I thought, wow, this is so interesting, but I don't think my collector will be happy if they buy the work with the bugs falling out all the time, right? So I also back to when I was 2018 doing a artist investment in China. My mentor is He Yinchang. He Yinchang is a good friend of Ai Weiwei. He challenged me. He said, Desmond, you know, your lines are not very fat and thick, correct? So do you think you can find a way to reduce the marks in lines? So it was very difficult. So it took me a long time. And at the same time, um, my eldest daughter, um, I had a ADHD diagnosis of her. Okay, the understanding of ADHD is like we are constantly it's a disorder, you know. It kind of like hard is you have to deal with the idea of ADHD. You have very bad working memory, then you constantly want to do new things and stuff like that. So when I saw my daughter went through that crisis, all right, it was very heartbreaking. Then I realized that fuck man, she's literally what I went through as a kid, and I normalized it because I didn't think I had any problem. And then back then ADHD not a topic at all, right? So why I go back into talking about ADHD is I have a problem of mixing colors. All right, my mind trained me to make bold colors, right? Bold colors, splash colors, whatever colors. That's why when I was doing my diploma days in LaSalle, I did a lot of abstract painting. I would just do whatever I want because my mind just tell me to. I couldn't understand, so I had to find a way to contain the craziness in my head. So I say, well, I have to find a way to even reduce my lines. So all this happened during the time of COVID, where everyone got stuck, nothing else to do, just do whatever you want, watch Netflix or paint. So I paint. Right? So when I paint, I kind of like, well, what can I just like reduce the line? Even though there's this craziness of using both colors, can I continue to work with both? So at the same time, the bug crisis came about eating my work, right? So I thought, well, can't I just use the paint by itself? Like whether if I paint on baking paper, can I peel the paint off? So that's how I started working like that. And obviously, it's very, very slow and painstaking process, and there's a limitation of what you can do. So I kind of like, can I work with silicon? So I kind of work with silicon, and I mix with paint, and then slowly developing the line. And even with the line itself, it's not going to be strong enough to hold. You need something to be binding them all together. So my first works, earlier works, I kind of work with, still go back to canvas again, right? Because canvas is like the core guy, core back person that you go to all the time. So I find that using the canvas on if you go to my website, you can see clearly I work like that on canvas. Then I decided, no, canvas is so outdated. and then the color is so boring. The background color is redundant. I really don't need it at all. So I kind of think, why can't I not work with paper? All right. So was very, very selective with the kind of paper I want to work with. So I deliberately chose the rice paper. You know why I end up using the rice paper? Very easy. 2018, I went to China. I looked at the Great Wall of China. I was like, wow, it's really, inspiring. So I asked them, what's the thing that's between the bricks? Then they said the mortar. I said, what's the mortar made of? Rice. That was a shock, profound revelation to me. Then to me, wow, rice itself you mix with mortar is very archivable, it lasts so long. So that's also explain why a lot of the Chinese painters use the shade paper in the work. So I thought, but I'm not a Chinese painter. I'm never going to make me painting like that. So why can't I just manipulate the paper a bit? And again, the idea of using paper is like simple as this. Paper, when you take it out, it's fresh, it's very neat, very nice. So when you crush the paper, you uncrumble it, right? It's still gonna be stains and marks everywhere on the paper. And I like that because it's a bit like my own personal experience as a human being. You get taunted by racism, you get taunted by the various form of anxiety, and I have to deal with it, right? So when I carry this scars within my body. So it go back to the idea of self-expression. I'm trying to use my body, absorb the pain and the conflict within my body and do the work, do the painting. So long story, back short story. So this particular painting is about the journey between me and my daughter. This is the idea of my language with her, because she has ADHD, I have ADHD. We are walking this journey together, and this oasis water is where we come together and kind of say, well, this is our tranquility, our mind. If you later on, when you have time, you walk around the world, you look closely, there's like little emojis in the world. They're all like crying. It's our journey together. To be honest, it was heartbreaking when I found that she has ADHD, and I tried to be with her, and I cried with her many times. It was really, really difficult, and she was trying to find acceptance, and it was even harder for her when she's in top school in Perth. And and then you're talking about kids with 99.9 time versus a kid like her who at 85. She always feel that she's not good enough. So I always tell her, I say everybody has his own giftedness, and you just need to find yours. What's your giftedness? And so I would say this work was like really, really trying to encourage her. You will find your own way of expressing yourself, and you don't have to find acceptance all the time because not everyone's going to give you that to you.
I think it's very interesting that your whole journey of materials as well um, has sort of led you to also go back to your uh, horticulture
Yeah,
training,
yes.
right? So making your lines thinner and making it more textured has also resulted in it looking sort of like plant roots.
Yes.
Would you say?
Yes.
Yeah, a bit like
Yeah.
spreading.
I'm going to bore you with horticulture now. So the whole idea of horticulture, when I had my first child in Singapore, I didn't want my daughter to have memories of going to tuition center every day. So I said, no, let's go move back to Australia. And I have a hard time finding jobs, so I had to retrain myself to do horticulture. And as a horticulture, I thought, wow, fantastic. I get to design all kinds of landscape design, right? That in reality, no, not so much. The landscape design is very few in between. Every time you have a landscape design, the clients want to hacker you all the way to the point you're really not going to make any money. So I find myself doing weeding more often. You go to people's garden, weed. So every time I weed, I weed today, the next day I come back, there's weeds there again. And the more I read, I realize that the roots itself is so interesting. You know how the roots grow, the depth and stuff like that. So I have a profound deep respect for roots now. And I was very particular about roots, how roots grow in the soil. You know, like if there's rocks, what did they do with the rock? And then they would grow around it and continue to grow and adapt. It's the same way how I was fascinated with plants that grow in normal spaces but unconventionally. What do you mean by that? Say, for example, I went to this street along Chinatown. Now I was struck that there was this one particular tree growing on the walls, right? Not just growing, it's thriving. It's like leaves and stuff like that. The roots just adapt and grow. Then I thought, wow, this is similar to my own migration experience here in mine. Australia doesn't really welcome me. I don't always feel that I belong there. I don't feel that Singapore, I belong to Singapore either because I really kind of believe in living in another country. So I want to explore the idea of roots now, predominantly because I think this is a way of expressing adaptation, adaptability, and absorb wherever you live. Um, yeah. So, but the thing about my roots is it will never grow deep because I'm not the first Australian, so I don't feel that I have an ownership of living there at all. You know, so I feel like I'm Soranger, just going where the sense of belonging is it's here and there.
Mm. I also feel it's about resiliency, right?
Yeah.
Because I have done weeding before, and if you don't take out the weeds by the root, they just keep growing.
Yeah.
They just keep. You really have to hack at them
Yeah.
and get to the
Yeah,
roots.
you destroy the plant doesn't do anything at all.
Yes,
You have to really
yes.
dig out the whole roots.
Yes,
And
that's
when you
right.
dig out, there's a lot of chunk of roots that's coming
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So it's also I'm also trying to say that you can't really get rid of me totally because somehow I'm still stuck to the wall or wherever I am.
Survival. Of course. So actually, back to the materials of your work, very unique. I know previously you have used incense for the smell and eucalyptus leaves and even soya sauce.
Yes.
But for this particular show, you have used mechanical things as well, right? There's some that have been plugged into some electronics that work, and also the earphones where you can actually listen to the sound. So it's multi-sensory. Maybe you can share a bit more
Okay.
about why these things are incorporated into.
All right. I think the problem with picture photo taking, it flattens everything, right? My work doesn't appear as it is because when you look at photograph, it's just flatten, compress everything, right? And even with painting as well, some paintings are flat because you see that it's just a layer, right? And but of course there are painters who make multiple layers of stuff. So I thought, why can't I just work continue to create interesting experience with the work? So for example, that one particularly on the wall has a tongue there. So if you go near it, it triggers by sensor, it will wag its tongue at you like that. And then you wag, and then you become very curious. What is it on its tongue? So I'm quite conscious because I'm a parent. I do not want my little children to, not little children, I mean children who have experience to understand truthfully what are the words there. So if you look closely, I'll tell you, say seriously, what the fuck in its tongue. Why I want to do that is it's also the point is I feel that my position as a Chinese person in Australia, every now and then I get questioned. Every now and then people will just say that you don't belong here or things like that. So I feel that I'm constantly I have to validate myself all the time. I found that was a struggle for me. And then I just feel that putting that sensory experience in the work, it creates another way of looking at my art, you know. And then if you look at that one there, as the sound of the sea is continuing going on and on and on, because I'm surrounded by sea. Wherever I go in Australia, is sea. You know, it's not like I can just fly over to Singapore or to wherever and reconnect it. It's not going to be the same. So to me, the sea, it's like huge walls. All right, you can just go over. And I want to convey that, and then it's not easily conveyable through painting itself. So I thought, why can't I just introduce that? After all, the way we look at things now, it has becoming more and more interactive, right? The virtual reality and things like that. So I just want to play with that. You know, I don't make a lot of pieces like that. It's just maybe also partly because I'm ADHD, right? When I'm that, oh, so boring, keep doing the painting. Can we do something else different? And then doing something else different kills me because if you look at the work, I have to not just think about the mechanism, how they work together, and wiring and the programming. At the same time, because I'm a painter, I care more about the aesthetic of the work, you know. So I have to do a lot of work just to do one electronic work. Yeah. So yeah, I just find that this is also the reason why I kind of like tell myself I'm not gonna make every pieces like that. It's just time consuming.
Yeah, because you also have one that is my left arm's only at
Yeah.
5%,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And that also does it move?
The original work I created,
Yeah.
it does move its finger up and down.
Okay.
But again, I struggle with that because like a purist who makes mechanism, they don't care about the presentation. So whereas me, I'm like, oh wow, look, the big box, how I do have to stack a box upon just to make it move. So I thought like, why not take a bit of risk, not have the mechanism? Because I feel it's unnecessary. I just have it living inside the box. It's like a living arm within the box, all right? I just feel that sometimes I feel like that because I I have to live within the box because the box itself is not placed by others. You know, you are Chinese. You are that's it. There's nothing more, right? Whereas I want to talk about the idea that the idea of us is it's non-binding. We just continue to absorb and change. Yeah.
And I feel that all the work is very also embodied, right? It's about all your senses. So you've got work that has audio, you've got work that is uh, has the tongue sticking out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reference to like taste, audio, sight, and feel also, right?
Oh, yeah. Like I said before, the most important thing is this. I'm very much still very strongly influenced by Chinese culture. That's definitely for sure. And then I remember my time as a kid, I always like to look at hua ce, the flower cars. The vehicles as the stage, very colorful. There's smoke coming out. I thought, wow, this is so interesting, right? The way we look at art. So when I started doing these things, I kind of say, why can't I put a flower vehicle within the work itself? So this is the reason why I felt like making the sound, making the interaction is important. But I don't want to overdo it. You know, I don't want to make it too quiche. You know. Yeah.
Right. Okay, and to me also, one of my final questions. I know that you very candidly shared quite a lot of like, very painful, uh, maybe even traumatic things that you've gone through in your life. But there also seems to be a bit of humor, right? Because you don't express the pain in a very explicit way. You make them like Easter eggs that people have to go and look carefully and find. So is that also sort of maybe a way to cope or an important component, like the humorous component? So people don't look at the work and immediately
Yes.
like, oh, it's grotesque, but I'm not crying and I don't feel depressed.
Yes.
I feel an affinity and a bit of,
Connection.
connection there through the humor.
Funny you say that. I have to say, what if the monsters eat the same ramen as you? Right? What I'm saying to you is monsters are something that we perceive because mythology tells you this is a monster. Right? It's this idea of what we understand through stories that your parents tell you, or the things we read, or even popular culture. In popular culture, always say, "Oh, the monster's coming out now. Better hide and see what's." Yeah. What if the monsters have the same thing as you? What's wrong with that? What if the monsters use toothbrush and brush his teeth? Right? So why I want to create that in a way that's really relatable. So I will leave little things like popular culture icon in the world because this same I consume the same common popular culture same like you guys, right? Why am I any different? So if you can see some of the works as like the emojis, right? So the emojis are like the language that we all use in spite of our cultural differences, right? Sometimes I don't just can't bother typing words, I just thumbs up, okay, things like that. So we are all speaking the same language, sort of, regardless where we're coming from, right? Why are we still having this racial problem or conflict in the world? Because I feel that sometimes we are holding on it too much to the point that the conflicts come out. But I think we are really at the converging point that we are really, really into culture. It's very hard to separate it us apart from the rest. So I felt that's why it's so important for me that this human aspect. If you look at the work behind, I had a very very bad cultural experience. Racism word said to me, but I cannot do anything else but just laugh at it because that's how I process it. Because like that word has the word say fucking Asian prick. So if it's fucking Asian prick, I'm a fucking Asian prick to her, and then if she see a white person, you probably shout fucking cut, right? So I have to understand that this is the way they speak, or some of them speak like that, and somehow process that and then treat it like a form of humor, right?
Okay. And final question, and maybe a bit of a cheeky question. What is painting and what is sculpture? I mean, your work seems to be, it's definitely paint, but then it's sculptural. So, I mean, no black and white answers.
That's no. So I'm very happy to leave it to the point that.
Okay.
All right. Very important thing is this, right? When you enter art prizes, they always have this category: painting, sculpture. So I'm quite defiant. I say, why can't I just try to confuse the judges and say, okay, this is painting and this is sculpture at the same time. So what are you gonna do about it? This is be about where I am now, right? So my identity of the Chinese is not very there. My identity of Australian is not very there. So I'm kind of like in the middle now. I'm happy to be there now. For a long time, I couldn't accept that, but kind of now I kind of embrace that. I say it's good. I don't have to be defined by other people, and I do not want my art critique or the artwork to define my work. I mean, they can define whatever they want. Whether it's like a curator came by just like today, Desmond. I see this as a painting. That's it. Why you see this? This is ultra painting. I say, awesome. Now I can use ultra painting now. So and it's verified by a curator. So I said, why not, right? So I would say it's ultra painting. So be it. And then some people say this is pseudo sculpture. Yes, it's pseudo sculpture. There is a sculptural element, yet there is also a painting flat element to the work. Because a sculptor will do a real 3D work, right? So whereas there's a flat element in the work, if you later on when you walk around and look at the work, you can see that. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I just an artist, I don't think we need to be defined by what people think. Except for you.
It doesn't matter. I like that. We'll leave it on that note. Any other questions? for Desmond today.
Thanks for the interesting. For the screening. For the screening. Hi, Desmond. Yeah, thanks for the interesting sharing insights. So, hearing your kind of childhood experiences, I suppose, I mean, you mentioned the word humor.
Yeah.
I think when I look at your work, especially your self-portraits, I think, are they a form of catharsis?
Sorry?
Even catharsis.
Catharsis.
Even your experiences.
You need to define the word for me. What's catharsis?
Oh, catharsis. It's a form of letting out of emotion.
Okay, venting, right? I guess so. I think every kind of every kind of work I think is a form of expressing the internal thing within, right? I would say that it's a bit of maybe sometimes it can be a revisit, like revisit to your memory space that you are. Like some of the work has the word 家 coming out from the tongue. You know, 家 is a very common Hokkien word about eating, right? But it's very precious to me because my grandmother used to say that to me when I was a child, even though my grandmother has mental illness. But I remember clearly to me, they always say 家, 家, so they can become strong, grow tall. So I feel that it is what it is, right? You sometimes you have to use work to release that anger that's inside you. But I can't really see that I'm really that angry. Because I'm really angry, I will not do these things, man. I will just do something else, except painting. So I just want to see the humor in it, you know. I just say, well, can I make it humorous, you know? Can we laugh at our own experiences? And things like that. Yes. Yeah, no worries. I also haven't read up yet. Oh, you're right. Yeah, go on. Oh, the pin, the silicon pin. Yeah, like all of you yeah. No, they are actual silicon pin. Oh, that's paint. And silicon. Yeah. So some part of it will have some metal feeling, like metal, because I want my lines to come out from the painting. So like for some lines on it could be metal coming out, you know, because then I paint it over. Because I want this idea that the paint is just the one to come out and stuff like that. So yeah, this many paintings. And then, so that's actual paint. Yeah. Landscape I just do that because technology keeps changing and changing all the time, and we get better materials now. You know, you be talking about paint quality so much better now. So I'm to be honest, right? When in Australia, if I go to the hardware shop, if I want paint, there's so many paint, thousands and thousands of paint. Right? It's like a candy shop, you know. Wow, so many paints. Right? But how do I, how do I really want to control? My mind really so chaotic, so I have to find a way to control it. So only through these minds, I can find a sense of balance and in control. Yeah, otherwise, it will be flawed thing coming out from my head. I'm sorry, I thought this because you talked about roots. Yes. And you know, I thought you're. Nah, I can't dig out the roots and do those. I thought it was something to do with the roots. Yeah. Like how being on the ADHD and how we should be grounded to something and hence the roots. Yeah. So, no. The roots is just it's my way of it's my migration language. It's me being a plant. You know, I just plant myself anywhere I want, whether it's up there. Terry got space there, right? I think I can grow myself there. And then it's survive, right? Try to survive, you know. And because me being a plant growing, I'm never gonna reach the stage of being a tree because unless it really settles down, you know. And This is my ongoing struggle as a human being. Yeah.
So how do you apply the paint?
Tools.
Range or whatever.
Yeah. Probably a gun for this. Yeah, a gun would be the easiest way to do this. Um, you have to do use various methods. You use non-stick background, you peel it out, and then just work on it. I can't say too much. It's copyright. Sorry. Oh, it takes days. At least a 2 month work. Yeah. But of course, I'll have multiple working at the same time. And then the problem with this, right? You can become too crazy and you work on it too much to the point that you can't undo it. Yes. Once I make a mistake in the work, I can't undo it, right? So that's right. I live in the mistakes, but I kind of control it by being disciplined, meaning I will do every day, do a few lines, and because every time I wake up, I have a new way of looking at it. Painting the lines, right? Controlling the lines and how the colors work with each other. You can see it is hard to control colors like that, because it's so. My mind is so crazy. Just want to keep using the bold colors. So I have to somehow slow it down, work on multiple works at the same time, and then go back to it again, and then sometimes don't do anything at all and come back to it again. So that's how.
Yeah, the colors are very muted and they're not like strong, bright.
Yes, but if it's just the color coming in my head, it will be like that. Yeah. So this is my control.
This is talking about roots, plants, and horticulture. I don't know, just asking whether your works are informed by any theory, because it reminds me, of course, of Dylan's, right? From Dylan's and Botany. Okay, the concept of rhizome. When things are connected in multiple kind of non-hierarchical ways.
Yes.
And also by the theorist Baba, okay, his concept of hybridity, where how two species, the crossbreeding of two species, by grafting, to form
Yes.
hybrid species.
Yes.
I mean, are you aware of this?
Yes. I don't think I go into the arts part of it. I actually did more on the horticulture part of it. I mean the science part of it. I understand about the idea of grafting, how you can graft multiple lime tree and become about 7 kind of fruits within the one tree, right? So I like the idea of that, and I feel that um, it's worth exploring. And then especially with my line work, right? You can see it's so versatile, can do painting, landscape, and can do painting. But I feel that the predominant idea of this is about the idea of me. The lines itself is a living organism, trying to hold on to things, latch on to things, and make a stand in defiance. I am here, can't get rid of me. And I'm sort of thriving, not really thriving that well, but thriving in a way. Yeah. So I lean towards that much more. I understand about all these things. Yeah, but I find that I don't want to read on it too much to the point that it's I will be trying to execute that and trying to do my work at the same time.
Any questions? No? No? Okay.
Joshua.
Yeah, thank you for the share. It's amazing. So, because the thing is looking at the lines, right, and the work that goes in, right, do you think that the ADHD kind of like made you go like this mile? Because this is like really quite extensive and very detailed artwork and style of working. So, because I understand that you're probably easy, and once you understand, once you're in the zone, in the zone, like you just move all the way. So how do you really stop?
Yeah.
I mean, having a family, because I'm family, like, how do you like really plan the time?
I always say my wife is my pillar of support. Without my wife working full time, I can never be this full time artist. be honest, when I only started seriously working as an artist at the age of 43. I'm 49 now. I'm really pleased where I am. And to discover ADHD at such an old age kind of becomes a form of understanding for me. And how do I work with the toolkit, the deformed toolkit in the tool bag? You know, what do I do with it, right? So, and also because when COVID happened, you do nothing else but just look at what you're doing all the time, you know, you just do. And because of that, right, it kind of like speed up my process as an artist. You know, it's like, wow, I'm proud to say today, my art statement, my artwork, and whatever that's happening, all converging as one. You know, I actually had a hard time struggling writing what I'm doing all the time. What is it? Because my mind is so active. A person with ADHD struggles with conciseness. You can't concise. That's why, Jeffrey, as I say to you, I won't be signing up for any class any sooner. I struggle with that, you know, so I have to somehow black it out. And how do I deal with it? You know what I do? I listen to cosmos music, space music all the time. That's how I focus myself. And at the time, sometimes my wife will say, "Hey, Desmond, you forgot one thing. You forgot you need to cook dinner." Oh, yeah. so yeah. So I have to do that. You know, I have to do that. And I go to sleep. I also listen to space music to rest my mind. And I do not want to be hyper fixated on things all the time. You know, I just have to learn. It's a disorder, but I just have to learn to deal with it all the time. It's not easy, Joshua. You must help me, Joshua. Oh yeah, okay, let's form a club, man. Yeah, you're so diagnosed already. Maybe I can share with you.
Did you feel before you were diagnosed? Did you feel but like till you didn't know what you had? It's like you're knowing your plans. You didn't know you
Yeah.
your life.
To be honest,
You like
yeah.
your journey before you embark on so and then you've been told, you know, that point of awareness that this situation is there.
Yes.
So does that make you think and feel differently about yourself?
What's important is this, right? Some people they get diagnosed so they understand where they are. Some people get diagnosed because they want the medication that goes with it to curb out the extra voices that's going on in the head, right? I told my wife ladies that I do not want to be dependent on any drugs at all. I'm really like 49 now. I kind of like live half my life already, so I kind of understand how to tame the beast in my head. Right? So I deal with it, but it's much harder for my daughter because she has her whole life going. And then now that she's discovered that this, it could be sometimes it's a backfire sort of backfire on her because sometimes she will just go, oh, I'm like this. I can't do anything else. So as a father, I try to encourage her and say, no, you need to snap out, right? And half the time I will let her go through that process because I think she has to find a way to deal with it all the time. I can't be there all the time telling her to come out. So do I feel any different or once I found out and stuff like that? I think it gives you clarity to me, right? And it helps with my working methodology. How do I wake up every morning and go to work and do work and stuff like that? And then and how do I find time to do admin work? Like for example, responding to email and continue to write my artist statement or whatever. So I have to somehow work in discipline, you know. Even the way I organize my paint in my studio, I clearly label all the color schemes of the same thing, all in the same drawer, all color schemes in the same drawer, and I always put back my equipment where I come work, where I take from. So that helps. A bit of organization does help because the mind is so chaotic. You don't need to, search everything for if you continue to be chaotic. So I kind of like appreciate that much later. If I'm much younger that time, when you tell me these things, I say, oh, I don't want to do it, I struggle with it. But now I realize it's so important to do this. Your work can be chaotic, but my students shouldn't be chaotic. I should be able to find my paintbrush, right? my favorite paintbrush. The funny thing about ADHD people, I do not know about other people, right? You know what I do is I paint my paintbrush. I wasn't happy with the paintbrush. So what I did is, this is my favorite paintbrush, but I don't like the handle that goes with it. So what I did is, I go saw it off the handle. So I saw off, and I found a bone. I put the brush and the bone together. I started painting. Oh, this is nice. I like the feel of the bone in my hand. So this is the kind of quirkiness that ADHD people do have from every now and then. Not like I'm gonna use a human being bone now, you know. But yeah. So I kind of learned to embrace it, and just hope that my daughter will come to a point of understanding how to work with it all the time. She's still young.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's it. Thank you. No, thank you again, Desmond, for your very candid sharing. For those of you who haven't seen the artworks, please, Desmond is here. Feel free to have a browse around and ask him any questions.
Yeah, and the people online, this is until 6th of January, very long,
Yeah,
so you can.
that's right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.